update us on traffic?
I would like to update you on traffic. If you'll remember, we came to you and we talked about making, actually the district came to us and asked us if we could do it, and we made the loop around the high school enforceable by law enforcement, and you guys asked us to come back with some statistics on how that went. We gave the students about a month to 6 week grace period where we just talked about it and advertised it and didn't do any enforcement, and if we did, it was just face-to-face. Hey, you're going too fast this morning, don't forget to wear your seatbelt. And then we started actually enforcing it. There wasn't, we didn't go out in droves and sit out on the loop and enforce it. It was, as we saw them, we addressed it. And I don't know if you have a copy of the email that I sent Dr. Carlin, but I'll just go through this real quick. We had 2 tickets for speeding. Both of those tickets were for 10 miles an hour or more over the posted speed limit. 1 ticket for leaving the scene of an accident. 1 ticket for driving on other than roadway. And what a student had done was the landscaping that's up there, he wanted a specific parking place, and so he drove over the landscaping and in the meantime spun his tires and it dug down into the landscaping. And last I heard, they hadn't checked the sprinkler system yet because they were waiting for it to come on, but there may have been damage to the sprinkler system. We have 2 tickets for driving the wrong way on the loop. One of those actually ended up being a reckless driving ticket because as the student was driving the wrong way, he almost went head on into an oncoming car. And those were written within a day of each other. And I can let Mr. Norby talk about why those happened. We had a ticket for no valid driver's license. I don't know what the original stop was for. And you'll see a ticket for no seatbelt. I did some further research. That was written by a patrol officer. The seatbelt violation was seen on Mary Street. The person just happened to pull into the high school and the stop itself was made there. 2 warnings for parking in a fire lane. Again, those were, we had an officer come up that was doing some follow-up and saw it. People parked in the fire lane. 3 warnings for failing to stop at a stop sign. 2 warnings for driving in violation of restrictions. And 1 warning for another parking violation. I don't know what that violation was. I didn't give the warning. And then after school, on several days, I would stand out with Miss Scott where the kids cross at the crosswalk and the buses come out. And as I saw violations, I would just approach the kids and point them out. You know, you need to have your seatbelt on, turn your radio down. You're coming a little fast around the loop. And usually that was more of an educational interaction. I didn't take my ticket book out with me. There wasn't an official warning. It was just a communication that they needed to be more aware of their driving. So those are the number stats anyway.
Questions?
Yes.
What period of time does this cover?
Probably mid-March, probably right after spring break to the last day of school.
So 8 tickets and 8 warnings.
Starting February 1.
We started at February 1. We didn't issue any tickets until after spring. I believe it was right after spring break.
So do you see more kids having their seatbelts on when they leave the campus now?
I can honestly say we have a program that I was doing at Kenneth Henderson that we just kind of never got kicked off at the high school. My first year up there was just a little bit busy and I didn't get it kicked off, but and we did seatbelt surveys as part of this program, and this year the high school's percentage was 87% of our kids were wearing seatbelts. But when I looked after school and stood out there, maybe it's because they knew we were standing there, I could count on one hand, probably every day kids weren't wearing their seatbelts. And a lot of times it was the adults that weren't.
Well, I like the concept that just because you can give a ticket should curb a lot of negative activity. And it looks like that's what's happened by the low numbers of actual tickets distributed. So I didn't want to see page after page of citations.
We don't have time for
That's not
that.
the purpose of why we okay
Right.
this. So it seems like the program's working. Would you agree?
Yes, and I will tell you that one of the first students that should have gotten a ticket that didn't, he was driving without a license, and he's a student that everybody knew who he was. And after he got pulled over, I pulled him in and said, hey, did you get a ticket and do you need help taking care of it? Because kids don't always understand. I get a ticket and I just go pay it, so I wanted to talk to him about the process. And he said I didn't get a ticket. And I'm like, well, you're very lucky. And he said, yeah, I'm very lucky and I understand that. And I said, how do you feel about the fact that you could have been given a ticket and you weren't? And he said he was grateful for it, and he also said that if he'd gotten a ticket, he totally would have understood it. And for him to have the positive feedback, and I said, now can you go share with your friends that we're not out here to breaking up people's checkbooks with the tickets? And this was after some negative feedback that we had about officers writing tickets. And he felt like, you know, it was handled correctly, and so said he'd go tell his buddies that it's not such a bad deal.
Is that my son?
Nope.
I heard that other law enforcement agencies aside from GCPD were at the high school issuing tickets.
I asked the Highway Patrol. I did not specifically ask the Sheriff's Office because they don't come up there anyway. I asked Josh Beer at the Highway Patrol, and he said they did not write tickets. I know that we have some troopers that have kids up there, and they would sometimes be up there, but if they wrote tickets, it may be, again, because the violation occurred off the school property and they pulled in, but he wasn't aware of any tickets that were written on the property.
Any other questions?
I just, Mr. Dorothy's here, and we really did this, I think, like Dr. Hopkins said, to improve the safety, and I'd kind of like to hear your perspective, Mr. Dorothy, on, is this something you think is beneficial or worthwhile, or is this something that we won't have another look at?
Well, for me, I was a member of the administrative team that first asked for this to be looked at and asked for permission to have them come in. And my perspective on it is this. I'm charged every day with getting 2,000 kids, 200 staff, and hundreds of parents into that area and back out. And if you're talking on a conservative estimate, conservative, no ball games, anything else, there were 69 days of school where we did this enforcement. That's at 2,000 cars a day even, which is a low number. You're talking 139, 140,000 cars, 138,000 I think. That's a lot of vehicles in and out. And anything that's going to make that safer for kids, for adults, I'm in favor of. We've got a lot of kids coming in and out. As I said, a lot of adults. They're great. The kids are great. But they're kids. They're just trying to figure out this driving thing. From 14-year-old kids with farmer's permits who are just behind the wheel to seniors who've got senioritis and count every second that they want it. How fast can I get off of the grounds? You've got everything in between. And anything that's going to make that safer for them, even if it's that I better watch out because I might get a ticket, or someone got a ticket last week, I don't want a ticket this week. If that's going to help influence their choice to act in a more safe manner, then I'm definitely for it, because the one thing that I can't compromise and won't compromise on is student safety and parent safety and safety of all of our stakeholders. As Officer Unruh mentioned, one of the tickets for reckless driving was a near head-on collision with one of our stakeholders who was just up delivering lunch to a daughter. And if writing a ticket to that student prevents the next student from driving backwards through the loop to try to skip out on lunch so we won't see them, which is what the situation was, and not at a slow rate of speed, if a ticket prevents the next student the next day from doing that, then a lesson learned to the student who had the ticket and a safer environment for everybody else coming up the next day is my perspective on it. And as the perspective of a parent of a student who's just going to get her farmer's permit tomorrow. I need that to be as safe an environment for her and everybody else as they can possibly be.
I just had a comment about the no seatbelt. I'm really impressed that that's the rate of seatbelt use among the students. That gets to be a habit, and if we can instill in that using the seatbelt in them early, I think it'll keep them safer throughout their life. It's really something that's important and
we've been lucky enough to have some really good safety belt presentations up at the high school. Mrs. Scott, do you remember the name of the company who brought in the rollover or safety vehicle to us a couple of years ago? We had some great presentations in our small gym a couple of years ago. We've done some pretty good education for students on the importance of distracted driving and not being distracted while you drive, but also safety belts. So yeah, we've done some real proactive education on that for kids.
And I know that I had the Seatbelts Are For Everyone program at Kenneth Henderson, and those kids were accountable. They weren't driving yet, but they were passengers and their parents were in the cars. And we also did a program where we gave Smarties to people that were wearing their seatbelts and Dum-Dums to those that weren't. And the kids, they just handed them out. There wasn't they didn't call names or anything. They just handed with a little note that says wear your seatbelt. And those kids, I think I did it for 4 years at Cage. So those kids are high school students now. Whether or not that had any impact, I don't know. But again, trying to get a program that I was running with 400 to 600 kids implemented with 2,000 kids was a little daunting. So didn't quite make it this year. We did do the statistics, we just didn't get the other stuff. And then we had Safe Night, which was a night all about educating on safe decisions that kids make, and seatbelts and distracted driving were 2 of those decisions.
I just think it's really a great opportunity to have a confined space and sort of the one-way traffic, so we're able to supervise them a little bit more than they would be out on the streets and the highways in town, and to be able to remind them and to encourage safe habits is really good. I was wondering if you had any perspective on texting while driving or whatever else they're doing that you're not supposed to be doing with phones or electronics.
That's kind of a problem still. When the bell rings and the kids come out, there's no faces. We see tops of heads, and that continues. And we had some issues with that a little bit, and I do think the kids were very aware that Miss Scott was standing at the crosswalk, and she'd call them out on it, or if I was there. But I will again say it wasn't just our kids. We had parents picking kids up that were texting. We had, when our kids did the seatbelt surveys, part of the survey was were the drivers distracted. And the examples I gave to the kids looking for, did they have a pet on their lap? Because that can be a distraction. Were they eating? Were they talking on the phone? Were they smacking kids in the back seat? And our kids would come back in and report to me, it was amazing how many people were putting on makeup or trying to eat and steer with their knee, and they just couldn't fathom. And I asked them, if they could tell me what kid was doing that, and they said it wasn't a kid, it was an adult. So that is an issue, yes.
And we've done some programming at the high school too. It can wait, or your text can wait till program, and signing various pledges for not driving and texting.
Kids will make PSAs.
Yeah,
School.
BBS has got some PSAs that have run on TV for them. So we've tried to be proactive in that area, but it is an issue.
Yeah, that's a challenge, but anything we can do to try to eliminate that will make them safer.
Yep.
Well, it's a great life skill that you're enforcing and encouraging, and it goes right along with our mission statement of responsible raising our growing quality learning and responsible citizens. So
And we are. We're just learning.
Yeah.
And I have to keep that in perspective, but I have to do everything I can to make sure it's as safe as environment as it can possibly be for everybody, not just the kids. All stakeholders, including the 5,000 to 7,000 people we'll have at the stadium this year for the Hatchet game. Keeping them safe as they come in and come out of those 2 lanes is, that's important.
Any more questions or comments?
Just a comment on the cell phone usage. I just read in 2013, all vehicle accidents in 2013 involved 27% of all accidents, car accidents in 2013 in Kansas involved cell phones. So just think if the cell phone would have never been invented, it would be 27% of all our accidents. And I'll give a name to Dr. Carlin. There's a guy that talks about cell phone usage is really good. Maybe we could get him in for a program or something. But the other question I did have was, what is your plan to educate our new freshmen as coming years coming up about now we do this? Because because they weren't there last year. What is the plan to address that with the new students?
Well, we have very few incoming freshmen. I know I mentioned my kid will be one of them that comes up there. We
Not very
sure we
freshmen,
maybe
right?
about, at the beginning of the year especially, I'd say less than 20 stickers to park on campus to freshmen. That number does grow as we go through the year. The students this year would have been warned with everybody else, but you're right, for this next year, we, when they get their parking permit in the freshman academy or anyone else that's new, we probably need to get them a piece of paper that comes, that has our ordinance on there, or our statement on there.
And I'd like to maybe even see somewhere closer, somewhere in the high school, these tickets that you guys gave out this last year, just as a reminder that tickets will be given out if need be, I guess. Not that, I just think that message needs to be there so that they're aware that they need to be driving responsibly. Just a thought.
Yeah, for the most part, they've been great. They've been responsible. You think about the volume that come in and out, and the fact that there were only those 8 citations. That is really great, and I think it speaks well to our kids that there were all those opportunities for something to happen and it didn't.
Any other questions or comments? Officer Andrew, I understand that there is a rumor going around, a vicious rumor, I do know people who have handcuffs, that you will be leaving Garden City High School.
I am leaving the police department. I'm going to go teach at Garden City Community College starting next week, actually. So when you're talking about the plan for next year, I didn't feel like I could speak because as much as I want to tell you what's going to happen, I won't be there. But yeah, I accepted a job as a criminal justice instructor out there. And it's something I've wanted to do for a really long time, and the position came up. And while the timing wasn't in my plan, I kind of have to think of my future self, so.
We
Yeah.
get teaching, we understand.
Yeah. Well, and I've said this before, but I've enjoyed being a part of it and the crisis plan part that I've been able to be a part of, and I am gonna do my best to stick with that. I wanna help train the staff. So as much as I can, I am gonna still be a part of that, but it just will not be in a building.
Well, Officer Andrew, thank you so much for everything for our schools and for safety. Would you like to come back through? Anything else?
I would just add to that, Madam President, Randy shared with me tonight 10 years she's worked as an SRO in the school district, and I'll tell you, we've got some great police officers in this community. Not every police officer, every great police officer is a great SRO. Randy really exemplifies what an SRO should be, and we are going to miss you. We appreciate that we'll probably have an opportunity to still work with you in some capacity, but thanks for all you've done. You made a big difference in our school district.
I just got back from a statewide school resource officer conference, and apparently I am an anomaly because most of them do 2 years and leave or 3 years and leave. With the exception of dare officers, they kind of stick around, but SROs are so short-lived, and I just think, how can you not stick around and do what you love? But I got an opportunity to hear from one of the first responding officers at Sandy Hook, and to hear his perspective on the response and their crisis plan, and they had a really good crisis plan, and it just made me think about what the district here has done to keep up with the updating of the crisis plan. So thank you for allowing me to kind of be a bug in your ears on that one, and we are definitely leaders in the state when it comes to that kind of stuff. So it's been a great district to work with, and again, I'm not breaking free completely. I might come in every once in a while and try to help out. So
Thank you.
thank you.
AJ, would you like to give us an update on our money? Do we have any more?
Now you're gonna look at me like that. I even started and you're already using it.
I'd just like to say thank you. I understand you had about a week to prepare for this today. I hope they gave you lots of chocolate.
Well, that's just the beauty of CPA, Cafe Stand.